No food or drink is allowed on the train. I'm sorry.
Can I drink just water?
It's not allowed on the train. If you feel uncomfortable, you can always get off the subway and drink on the platform. On the Nanjing subway, a woman was given a ticket for drinking water on the subway. When a journalist inquired about it, subway authorities responded by saying that eating and drinking were prohibited on trains. Water is a form of drink. Once spotted, one must be fined. If passengers are thirsty, they can get off the train and drink on the platform and come back up when done. A few days ago, a vehicle in a high-speed railway station had its tires locked by Chengguang or bylaw officers. The driver was fined for having mud on his tires, as it's forbidden for a vehicle with mud on its tires to get on the road. For a working vehicle, having mud or dirt on its tires is only normal. In this case, what is the difference between not allowing mud on tires and not allowing garbage in a garbage can? How can you believe that a private car with mud on its tires was locked on the spot by Chengguang? When the journalist called to verify the story, the city administration responded that there is indeed a rule that one must go to the office to fix the problem before the car can be unlocked and put back on the road. Let's see the video. We were stopped by the law enforcement vehicle. Reason being, one of the tires on my car was dirty. The car isn't allowed to run on the road with mud. Let's go to the office and sort it out before unlocking the car. Some netizens have said that you can obviously just take the car. Why bother to lock it? Other netizens commented, mud on the car is because your city administration has failed your job. We, people, should lock your office till the streets are cleaned before you return to the office. In recent years, there have been numerous cases of arbitrary fees and fines in many parts of China. Government departments have done so with no legal basis other than the authority of the government. Once the epidemic ended, China's various indicators of economic growth, such as GDP, PPI, CPI, and PMI, have all been declining, and the coffers of all local governments are running out. On July 10, 2023, China's National Bureau of Statistics released the June 2023 Consumer Price Index, or CPI, for 31 provinces. Among them, the CPI of 17 provinces declined year on year, and 4 provinces declined for 3 consecutive months. Meanwhile, the Producer Price Index, or PPI, fell 5.4% year on year in June, a 0.8 percentage point decline compared to May, and the largest drop since December 2015. It has been declining for 9 consecutive months. The drop was also more than the projection of 5%. The two data points, PPI and CPI, suggest that China's economic recovery is weakening. Concerns about deflation have dampened confidence. Official data released on July 31, 2023 showed that China's Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index (PMI) stood at 49.3 in July, still below the 50 line and in contraction territory for the 4th consecutive month. The service and construction sectors also continued to decline. China's economy saw its gross domestic product, or GDP, grow by 6.3% year-on-year in the second quarter, significantly lower than expected, and real estate investment contracted. In addition, China's youth unemployment rate stood at 21.3% in June, again setting a new record. It should be noted that these are official numbers. The reality should be worse. Banks such as JP Morgan Chase & Company, Morgan Stanley, and Citigroup Incorporated have cut their forecast for China's growth this year to 5%. They also revised their projected contraction in new construction from 7% to 20%. With the prolonged downturn in the real estate market, revenues from land sales by local governments have plummeted. Local governments rely on 2 main types of revenue. One is public revenue, which mainly consists of tax revenue and non-tax revenue. Fines revenue is included in non-tax revenue. The other is fund revenue. A major part of the fund revenue is the land transfer revenue. In the past few years, land transfer revenues in most provinces accounted for more than 80% of the fund revenues. As China's real estate, manufacturing, service, and consumer sectors shrink, local government fund revenues and tax revenues are plummeting, making the land finance model unsustainable. As a result, a fines economy has emerged nationwide. That is, impose various fines to generate revenue. Thus, we have seen local governments repeatedly fine people or stores for trivial matters. The traffic department is the worst offender in this matter. Some of its new fines have no legal basis. For example, certain jurisdictions have even introduced monthly fines. It's exposed that one county in Shandong province has heavy truck drivers cooperating with the local Traffic and Transportation Bureau. Drivers pay fines in advance for the current month, commonly known as the monthly ticket. The Traffic and Transportation Unit will then ensure that their client's truck, no matter whether they are overloaded or not, will be allowed to pass through checkpoints smoothly for a period of 1 month. After buying a monthly ticket, the traffic will be smooth for a month. Tickets for 10 vehicles at the price of 9. Don't worry, I have everything planned out for you on the road. You don't have to worry, you just work your business. I have all the arrangements done. Great teamwork. Stay in touch and call me anytime. When our trucks pass through Chengwu County, the traffic police will now issue a monthly ticket. Based on the vehicle models, some cost 1,000 yuan a month or 140 US dollars a month. Some about 300 US dollars a month. If you don't pay, they will stop you and give you a hefty fine. If you buy a monthly ticket, you will be able to pass through without obstacles for 1 month. When you do get stopped, just show the monthly ticket to the traffic police and you're good to go. In May 2023, drivers of large trucks in Henan province were fined several times for being overweight, and some received tickets of up to 275,000 yuan or about 38,000 US dollars over 2 years. Their trucks were evidently not overweight before they departed, but when they were stopped and inspected halfway through the trip, they all turned out to be overweight and received a ticket. In August 2022, Zhengzhou issued 740,000 parking tickets in just 20 days. Calculating on the basis that one ticket is worth 200 yuan, Zhengzhou raked in 150 million yuan, or more than US 20 million, in less than a month. The various departments, traffic police in particular, have the mandate to impose fines. Whoever can collect more fines and get more money for leaders will be promoted. So they all brainstorm all sorts of fines and excuses, not caring how outlandish they may sound. There you are, overloaded, over. My vehicle is empty. Empty trucks can be overloaded, and overloading is not allowed. How can I overload if I have nothing? Even when you aren't hauling stuff, your truck can still be overweight. Coupled by applying new technologies in law enforcement, traffic police are able to generate a considerable amount of fines. This is a fork road. The Y-shaped intersection has a solid line. Anyone who gets on the solid line when making lane changes is considered to be breaking the traffic law. As such, this intersection has generated 620,000 violation tickets. The total amount of fines may be more than 120 million yuan, or 17 million US dollars. This intersection's ability to generate revenue is comparable to that of a money printing machine. In May 2021, a truck driver from Hebei province being fined RMB 2,000 yuan and having his truck impounded at a checkpoint in the city of Tangshan due to the Beidou positioning system, i.e. the vehicle recording device went offline, hence a reason for the penalty. Talking about the Beidou navigation system, a truck driver describes it as being very unreasonable. He said, "Sometimes at night we are supposed to rest. The service area is too small and can't accommodate us, so we can't stop." Beidou requires a break or a change of hands every 4 hours, a 20-minute break. Sometimes in the middle of driving it reminds you to rest, but there are no service areas. By the time you get to the service area, time is overdue and it leaves a record of driving with fatigue. So it's a very unreasonable system. The mandate to impose fines mainly stems from the local government's lack of money. When they are short of money, they will try to get some from enterprises and individuals. Some jurisdictions put forward annual goals for a certain amount of fines to be collected. The fines get divided among subordinate departments and their employees. They are encouraged to complete the annual targets of fines. In other words, fines are used as benchmarks or indicators of some sort. For example, the number of fines is broken down and assigned to different levels of the traffic departments, and sometimes even to certain specific traffic police officers. These fines all carry legitimate banners with different names. Chinese people are seeing bizarre fines, all for the sake of generating revenue for the government. The official line is, "It's to enforce the law in place, enforce it properly, and impose fines should you violate the law." A number of restaurants in Shanghai have recently been fined for putting fresh cucumber shreds on cooked rice noodles. One restaurant was fined heavily with 5,000 yuan and its proceeds of the day, about 119 yuan, confiscated for failing to obtain a license for the preparation and sale of cold food. Cooked rice noodles topped with fresh cucumber shreds is a common salad dish in China. When the news broke, some netizens mocked, "Rice noodles and cucumber shreds have lived together half a lifetime, but got fined for not having a license and illegally cohabitating." A vegetable seller was fined 66,000 yuan or US 9,100 by the Market Supervision Department after selling 5 pounds of celery. The fine was imposed because the seller couldn't provide a purchase receipt and reveal the source of the vegetable. One peasant was fined 1.96 million yuan or 270,000 US dollars for setting up a stall in the morning market to sell solutions for foot fungus. He was fined on the grounds that he didn't register his medicines on file and didn't have a certificate of eligibility to practice medicine. Another peasant was fined 100,000 yuan or 14,000 US dollars for selling a few pounds of pork on the grounds that he had killed the pig without a compliance certificate. A noodle shop run by a disabled person was fined 100,000 yuan, that is US 14,000, for selling 6 pounds of substandard bean sprouts. The reason is that the noodle shop had failed to fulfill its inspection obligation. A potato shop was fined 300,000 yuan or US 42,000 for selling potatoes at 2 yuan per pound when it was purchased at a price of 1 yuan. It's considered price gouging. A driver was fined US $28 for picking his nose while driving, which was surprisingly caught on camera. Another person was fined 500 yuan or US $70 for being hospitalized for drinking too much with a client. Peasants who pay for their own wells to water their fields are required to install water meters at their own expense. A government agency stepped in and levied a fee. Well, the water meter must be installed according to the regulations. There are regulations from the government. Clause 40, it's clearly stated the water extracted must be metered. It means you have to install a water meter. However much you pumped out, including water used for crops, you have to pay according to the water meter. You can post it online, but don't take it out of context. Take it out of context? I've noted down everything you've said. If you use groundwater resources, you have to install metering equipment in accordance. Let me show you. There is a provision behind it. It's written clearly for you. The provision stipulates that a water extraction project that does not install metering facilities is liable to a fine of not less than 100,000 yuan and not more than 500,000 yuan. There are so many reasons for fines. Any one of them is numbing for ordinary Chinese people, especially the ones at the bottom of the society. If officials want to dish out fines, they can do so at their fingertips. The Chinese media Southern Weekly tallied up the revenue from fines in 2022 for more than 300 medium-sized cities, including the ones at the prefectural level. Among 111 cities, 80 of them showed an upward trend in fine revenues in 2021, accounting for more than 72% of the total number of cities. 15 cities showed a year-on-year increase of more than 100% in fine revenues. According to data from China's Caixin Magazine Industry Research Center, Guangxi Province alone collected RMB 13 billion in fines in 2022, equivalent to about 14% of the year's tax revenue, up from 9% in 2021. And that is just for 2022. Governments everywhere will only get madder in 2023. When debt-ridden local governments impose indiscriminate fines to generate revenue, it's the small, medium, and micro enterprises that are hurt the most. Vulnerable as it is, they have little bargaining power with whomever gives out the fines. It's questionable, though, just how much money local governments can squeeze out of them. The practice of imposing random fines directly affects investors' willingness to invest. In the long run, the hostile environment it creates is detrimental to the local economy and forms a vicious cycle. It adds to the tension between the government and the society because of the pressure on the population. China's financial difficulties have a lot to do with corruption, inefficiency, and wastefulness on the part of the government. It should consider slashing its financial spending rather than further exploiting the hard-pressed general public. A survey by the Caixin Magazine Industry Research Center in Beijing shows that more than 1.94 million businesses, or about 7% of the total, were closed in 2022 in the 40 cities that rank the highest income levels in China. Among all the businesses deregistered, micro-enterprises accounted for 57.4%. If small businesses were added, the percentage was as high as 93.3%. It shows that small and micro enterprises are weak in terms of risk resistance and are more susceptible to economic fluctuations. The survey also specifically mentioned that in Shanghai, which experienced lockdown in 2022, the number of deregistered businesses for the size of micro, small, medium to large enterprises amounted to 215,000, 54,000, 9,544, and 2,967 respectively. The proportion of deregistered microenterprises accounted for 20%. Many micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, or MSMEs, closed as things were already difficult after the epidemic. At a time when China's economy has yet to recover, for local governments resorting to a fines economy, MSMEs are bound to face a deteriorating business environment and even greater pressure of operation. The crazy operation of imposing fines will undoubtedly and significantly add to the burden of running a business. Consumers suffer in the end. They have to shell out more money for spending. Fines might lead business operators to cut back on quality, or worse, close the businesses, resulting in less supply of products and a continual rise in the unemployment rate. Newly appointed CCP officials are always looking for ways to show off their political achievements, yet no real achievements can come out of the red system. They'll do whatever they can to stage a performance, secure their positions, and get promoted. With the overlap of these two factors, that is, financial pressure and the political motivation of CCP officials, it's conceivable that the phenomena of a fines economy will only grow more excessive and crazier in the future.